All right, our next video, 1920s, the growing economy. All right, short, quick little slide section here, so let's get it going, all right? So, in the 1920s, you have a lot of new industries that are arising. Americans are enjoying a new standard of living. Wages are increasing. Work hours are starting to decrease, ever so slowly. And you have a new thing that's called mass production, or large-scale product manufacturing, usually done by machinery, which was used to increase the supply of goods and to decrease cost. Greater productivity led to the emergence of new industries because of this. Okay, so one of the new techniques is called the assembly line. It was extensively used by car maker Henry Ford. It greatly increased manufacturing efficiency by dividing up operations into simple tasks that unskilled workers could perform. Ford's assembly line product, the Model T, sold for $850 the first year. But with the assembly line, in the advent of that, he was able to drop the price to $490 after being mass-produced for several years. By 1924, he was selling them for just $300. Pretty low price for that time period, actually. Ford increased, and also in response, Ford did what was opposite of most industries at the time. He increased workers' wages and reduced the workday so he can gain the workers' loyalties and undercut union organizers. Okay, and this was also he changed American life because he made automobiles affordable, and his idea was too is if he increased their wages, they're going to buy his cars. So small businesses such as garages and gas stations start to open up. And then the petroleum industry, as a result, expands tremendously because you got to fuel all these cars that are being built. The isolation of rural life ends because of this, because people can get from the back country into the cities much easier. People could then live farther away, and they could work, and they can commute, thus giving us, which eventually lead to the rise of suburbs and malls and all that stuff. Okay. So people have more disposable income, which made innovations affordable. You get electric razors, you have frozen foods, you have household cleaning supplies, to labor-saving appliances. Okay, vacuum cleaners would be a great example. Americans used their new income to make their life easier. So by 1919, the post office had expanded airmail service across the continent with the help of the railroad. Okay, in 1927, you have Charles Lindbergh. He took his first transatlantic solo flight, which gained support of the United States for commercial flight. Okay, by the end of 1928, there were 48 airlines were serving 355 American cities. So people are able to move back and forth across the United States a little easier now. 1926. The National Broadcasting Company, known as NBC, establishes a permanent network of radio stations to distribute daily programming to people. And in 1928, the Columbia Broadcasting System, or also known as CBS, set up coast-to-coast stations to compete with NBC. So with all this stuff being produced, we become what is called a consumer society. Higher wages, shorter work days lead to an economic boom. Americans traded thrift for their new role as consumers. People used to save all the time. Now they're spending money. Americans' attitudes about debt shift as well, as they become confident that they can pay back what they owe at a later time. Advertising also is used to convince Americans that they need these brand new products. Ads are linked to products with qualities that were popular to the modern era, such as convenience, leisure, success, fashion, and style. By the early 1920s, many businesses have hired professional managers and engineers to help do work. The large number of managers expanded the size of the middle class, which is also important. In the 1920s, unions start to lose their influence and their membership. Employers began to promote an open shop, a workplace where employees were not required to join a union. So also what comes about is called welfare capitalism, where employees were able to purchase stock, participate in profit sharing, and receive benefits that made unions really seem unnecessary at the time. Okay, underlying all this is problems in the farm industry. Okay, you have a farm crisis. American farmers did not share in any of this prosperity of the 1920s. Instead, their prices dropped dramatically while the cost to improve a farmer's technology increased. Okay, so they don't have as much money and things are costing more. During wartime, the government had encouraged farmers to produce more for food supplies needed in Europe, because obviously you're going to need that. And farmers then borrowed money at inflated prices to buy new land and new machinery to raise these crops. They prospered during World War I because they have a market for all this food. But after the war, Europeans had little money to buy American farm products. And then after Congress raised tariffs, farmers could no longer sell their products overseas, so their prices fell in the country. President Coolidge, he twice vetoed a bill to aid the farmers, fearing it would only make the situation worse. Okay. And the American farmers then remained in a recession throughout the 1920s, which is ultimately going to help lead us into the Depression after the stock market. Okay, that concludes our video on the growing economies in the 1920s. And there'll be a short Edmodo quiz. Make sure you go online to do that. Thank you very much.